Hey guys, welcome to Starting Out Solitary. I'm your Thursday host Michelle, and this week's topic is Gods and Goddesses We Follow. So this week we're talking about gods and goddesses, if any, that we follow. And I know I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I don't follow or worship any particular god or goddess. To me, the whole concept of following one particular god or one particular goddess is just too much like following the Christian God to me. It's looking up to a human type figure. I know gods and goddesses aren't necessarily human, but you know what I mean, like just looking up to one central figure as, the creator of everything. And to me that just is too weird for me. It just doesn't jive with me. I don't look at the divine or look at the creator as, just one figure. And I know a lot of people look at their god or goddess or both as just a symbol of the divine, a symbol of the creator. And I just have never felt the need to have that type of symbol. I've been drawn to certain gods and goddesses out of interest or out of the fact that they, I connect with the meaning behind them and their traits and qualities and that sort of thing. I've been drawn to them that way, but I've never been drawn to a particular god or goddess in terms of worship or in terms of, following one as my figurehead for the divine. So the way I look at it is, when I get asked, who's your matron or who's your patron, the universe. The universe as a whole, to me, is my god and goddess together. And that's how I look at the divine, is the entire universe. It's kind of hard to put into words sometimes for me, because it's not just the universe, but it's just everything. Everything and everyone, to me, is part of creation and part of the divine. And that's how I look at that. That's how I look at that, it's the universe as a whole, the entire world, everything, just everything. It's just so hard for me to put into words how I feel, that's the best way I can describe it. So when I look at the divine, I'm looking at the whole, the entire, pretty much the entire universe as a whole would be my god or my goddess or whatever. Of course, when I look at the creator or creation, I think of the universe, and I do get that feeling of, masculine and feminine, or yin and yang, or hot and cold, black and white. There's definitely a duality there, but it's not as pronounced as some of the people I know who, follow a certain god or goddess, or they have a god and a goddess. To me, that's just too separate when it comes to, masculine and feminine. I tend to look at creation and divinity as more gender fluid or more genderless. So I don't really look at the creator or God, if you will, as feminine or masculine. I look at it as that it just is. It just is. And I know it's hard for me to explain exactly how I feel about it and exactly what my beliefs are in that area, but I don't feel comfortable, and I've never been drawn to selecting or being selected by a particular god or goddess. It's just too much like Christianity to me. Like I said, I have been drawn to certain gods and goddesses because I jive with their, their whole essence, or what they stand for, or what they represent. And one in particular has always stood out to me, and I have her right here, and I'll show you one of my favorite things. Sorry, it's messed up here. And that's Bast. I absolutely love this thing. She's so beautiful. It's small, but I was drawn to this because I've always been drawn to Bast and her qualities and what, you know, she represents, and, you know, her energies and that sort of thing. I don't necessarily, you know, follow her as a goddess, but I do respect the you know, qualities and things, and her whole aura and vibration and that sort of thing. So it's, while I don't follow her as a goddess, I am drawn to her, and I'm always very interested in reading about her and learning more about her, and the Egyptian pantheon as a whole. I've always been very interested in the Egyptian pantheon, but more of that is just interest, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but yeah, in a nutshell, I don't have a god or a goddess. I don't really believe in that whole thing of having a god or a goddess. And, you know, a lot of people have asked me in the past, and you know, or have made comments about, you know, being worried about the fact that they haven't found their god or goddess, or, you know, they haven't been able to connect to one. And I always tell them, look, you don't always necessarily have to have a god or a goddess. You don't always necessarily have to find one or have them find you. It's whatever's in your heart. If you can connect to the divine as a whole, and it comes from your heart and it comes from that place within, then if it's meant to be, where a certain god or goddess decides to present themselves to you, or their energy decides to present itself to you, then you're going to know it. You're going to know it, and it's going to happen at the right time for you, whether that's, you know, 2 years into your path or 20 years into your path. It doesn't really matter. But people shouldn't stress out too much about it. As long as you have a connection of some sort to creation or the divine or God, if you will, then to me that's what's important, is your connection. And however you connect is a very personal and private thing. So anyways, I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, blessed be.